environmental studies. Are you connected with the Wilmers Lab?
Yeah, that's right. I'm working with Chris Wilmers.
Okay, good. What is the Wilmers Lab?
The Wilmers Lab is a wildlife biology lab that studies all kinds of aspects of global change in wildlife. And here, particularly, we have a number of students working with the local mountain lion population.
Oh, good. Students and mountain lions. Do the mountain lions ever eat the students?
Not yet. We're
Not
still
yet?
waiting for that.
Good to go. Now, I was curious when I meet a doctoral student, what's your thesis going to be?
My thesis is on how people change the behavior of the mountain lions in the Santa Cruz Mountains and how that can have indirect effects on other species in the environment.
So, people being the apex predator,
People have become the apex predator, yes.
and we don't like other predators in our turf, so we mess around with them, and whether we want to or not.
Well, we used to mess around with them on purpose. Pumas were bounty hunted in California for almost all of the 20th century, and only recently in 1990 did California make it illegal to hunt mountain lions. So although now we have less direct antagonism with them, we still impact them behaviorally and in other ways.
You know, that's the question I wanted to get at is when did we start looking at mountain lions and grizzly bears and wolves and whatnot? You know, I can remember seeing my first mountain lion. I was a kid, Montana boy, hunting deer out in the badland breaks of central Montana. And I was just walking along a ridge line, and I saw a mountain lion run across the mouth of this break. It was so beautiful, I couldn't shoot it, and which was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a big deal for a Montana boy to drag home a mountain lion. But he was, or she was so beautiful and running so gracefully, and I was just stood there in awe of this critter being so beautiful.
Right.
So, but you know, my forebears didn't have that kind of experience with critters. I recall a wonderful story my father-in-law tells about his grandparents in eastern Montana living in a sod hut, a house, you know, with no windows, just blankets over the windows. And the grandfather had to go chase down horses that had been run off by the wolves, leaving the grandmother alone in the house at night. And the wolves came, and they surrounded the house. And she was in that house all by herself with no defense other than a frying pan and something to bang on it with. And, you know, that's the experience of in those times probably led to the fact that, boy, we got to get rid of all of those critters. But then someplace along the line, we started liking them or liking the notion of having them. And so we went through this, I don't know, spiritual conversion with respect to animals. When was that?
Well, it really started with
Now, you said I couldn't ask a question that you hadn't been asked before.
Yeah, well, actually, that's something that people who study carnivores think about a lot is people's perceptions and attitudes towards them. And it dates all the way back to Aldo Leopold. He's sort of the godfather of landscape conservation. And he was hired by the government to bounty hunt predators. And he shot a wolf and got to it when it was still alive. And there's this very famous piece where he describes watching the green fire die from the wolf's eyes and how he didn't want to shoot predators anymore. So he had that very emotional experience like you're talking about and completely changed his tune. He was the first person ever to really describe that carnivores could be important for the functioning of the landscape. He noticed that mountains are being degraded by overabundant deer. He was the first person to notice that. So really he started this movement toward not only an ecological appreciation of predators, but also an emotional one.
Same thing happened to me once when I shot an antelope. And when I got to it, it was dying. And it had the same kind of impact on me. Got over it since, though. But what the heck. Mountain lions, pumas, cougars, what are they?
It's funny that you mention all of their common names. They actually have the Guinness Book of World Records for the most names of any animal. They have some 40 names in English. And so we know them here as pumas or mountain lions, but they're the same animal as the Florida panther. They have the biggest north to south range of any terrestrial mammal. So they go all the way from Alaska to Patagonia. and
Wow.
they're the biggest cat that's not part of the group with lions and tigers in it.
So they're a different species than the rest of the lions?
Yeah, they're in their own taxonomic group, so they're pretty different and special animals.
And they must be very adaptable.
They're incredibly, we use the term generalist, which means they can live in lots of different habitat types. They can eat lots of different foods. And like you said, they're very adaptable.
Wow. And how was it that you decided to make them the focus of your doctoral? I mean, you were walking along one day and all of a sudden, I'm going to study mountain lions. What was the epiphany moment there?
Well, for me, it was two big things. My dad's a conservation biologist, and he studies a little animal that is a keystone species in its environment, which means conserving it is disproportionately better for the whole ecosystem than other species.
Well, that's a really interesting notion. Let's flesh that out just a little bit. A keystone species means if we can take care of this critter, we can take care of the environment.
Exactly. Wow. It's a little more bang for your buck to focus on species that regulate other species as well.
So what was the critter?
It's called a plateau pika. It lives in central China, and because there's no trees in the area, they make burrows, and all of the birds and other animals use the burrows to live in, and all the carnivores eat the pikas, and so they're very important for the functioning, for all the biodiversity in the area.
Wow. So if you can maintain the pika, you can kind of maintain the rest of the critters. What kind of forces were acting upon the pika in the plateaus of central China?
Well, China has been doing
besides a lot of hungry people.
I don't think they're eating that much. I'm not aware of that relationship, but the Chinese do poison them en masse. It's very much like the perception of prairie dogs in the United States, when the United States also poisoned prairie dogs, and it's that same kind of relationship.
Hey folks, this is the Food Chain Radio program. Michael Olson. Today we're going to have a lot of fun talking about lions, mountain lions, cougars, panthers, any number of things. And you are invited to participate if you so desire. 831-479-1080 is the call-in line. Question of the day, do you think people and pumas or mountain lions can just get along as we live in ever closer proximity? Right back with Justine Smith and you.
Wow, MetroFarm.com says we can earn a 5, 6, or 7-figure income by farming a small parcel of land in or near the city.
And we don't even have to own the land. We can lease it year to year.
MetroFarm.com says we can grow fruit on prairie bench lands, houseplants in coastal valleys, vegetables in city greenbelts, and ornamentals in neighborhoods of fancy homes.
We can even grow flowers on our wooded hillside.
Get all the information you need to grow for profit at MetroFarm.com, including the complete guide to earning 5, 6, and 7-figure incomes by farming small parcels of land. Meet the farmers who earn the money. Find experts at MetroFarm.com who will examine your property and assess which crops to grow. Meet consultants who will help steer your project to profitability. And get the latest news about the business of growing high-value specialty crops for the city at MetroFarm.com.
We've always dreamed about farming a small parcel of land. At MetroFarm.com, we can get all the help we need to stop dreaming and start growing.
Healthy food, healthy body. Join KSCO Flavors host Greg and Marlene Birch at the Kickoff Expo for the first annual Santa Cruz Health and Fitness Week, Sunday, noon to 3 p.m. at Kaiser Permanente Arena in downtown Santa Cruz. Meet the Santa Cruz Warriors, talk with area health and fitness experts, win prizes, sample healthy foods, and watch demonstrations. Bring your family and friends to the Kickoff Expo for the first annual Santa Cruz Health and Fitness Week, Sunday, noon to 3 p.m. at Kaiser Permanente Arena in downtown Santa Cruz. We all want to change for the better, but few know how. Learn how by attending a free talk titled Meaningful Change for Ourselves and the World by Christian Science lecturer Matt McCurdy's of Massachusetts. Mr. McCurdy's will explain how God's loving power is the greatest agent for change and how that power can be seen and felt here and now. Learn how to change for the better Saturday, 2 p.m. at the Christian Science Church, 3200 Center Street in Soquel. Details at Christ Science Soquel.
Healthcare that fits your Santa Cruz lifestyle. That's why Dignity Health Dominican Hospital and Dignity Health Medical Group Dominican work with you to make personal choices regarding your health. It's the type of care we can offer because we're more than just a hospital and medical group. We're part of this community. Visit DominicanHospital.org to find a doctor and start living healthy today. Dignity Health. Hello, human kindness.
I'm Gary Shapiro, host of From the Bookshelf, Monday nights at 7 here on KSCO. This week, my guest is historian and music critic David Haydu. He's just written a new book. It's called Love for Sale, Pop Music in America. And we have a great conversation this Monday at 7 on From the Bookshelf right here on KSCO with me, Gary Shapiro.
Welcome back, folks. This is the Food Chain Radio program. What's eating what? Today we're talking about mountain lions in the city, close to the city. In the city, as a matter of fact, come to think of it, I recall not too long ago a story of a mountain lion right downtown here in River City itself. So wherever there's green, wherever there's prey, there's probably going to be mountain lions. Very shy critters. Justine Smith, how do you study a critter that's so shy?
Well, we have a few methods. One way is we put GPS collars on them. So even though we
Here,
can't...
kitty cat, may I put this collar on your shoulder?
Yeah, we just ask them. We capture them with hound dogs or cage traps, and we deploy these collars that we can get a location from the animal, usually every 4 hours. And so not in real time, but we can collect that data later and infer a lot of things about their behavior just from looking at where they've been.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about tracking them with hounds. It sounds like a great adventure.
It's a pretty incredible application of this hunting strategy. People can't hunt mountain lions in California anymore, but there's a number of people here who...
Are they protected species?
They are protected in California. But there's a lot of people who still have hunting dogs and have the skills to chase animals into trees. And we work with people who have dogs and have those skills to put the dogs on a mountain lion track and get the hunt going. And instead of shooting the animal, as people might have done historically, we shoot it with a tranquilizer gun, and we're able to then capture the animal anesthetized and collect some samples and deploy the collar.
Mm-hmm. And with that collar, you can pretty much tell exactly where the critter's been and how long it stays there.
Mm-hmm.
What else can you tell from that? What other kind of data do you get from that?
We usually can find kill sites from the data. So if we can
How do you do that?
If the puma started hanging out somewhere at nighttime, and then maybe they left during the day and they came back again, we can infer usually that that's a kill. We can also find their den sites because they'll hang out at their den for a few weeks. We can see how they're dispersing, especially if we get young males. If we get a collar on them, we can understand how they leave their mom and go establish their own habitat.
Mm-hmm. And what is the population density? I mean, I suppose you can get a pretty good idea of the population density.
We've been working on that. We don't have a super hard estimate yet, but we think maybe there's about 70 adults in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
That's in the entire, when we talk about the Santa Cruz Mountains, these are the mountains that border California's Silicon Valley. Really beautiful place.
Sure, all the way up to the peninsula.
And, of course, there's a lot of millionaires that live in those mountains.
There are.
And so, here, I guess it's a classic case then of people moving into wildlife habitat. And then for the wildlife to survive, they have to be very adaptable at living in that habitat.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting about this region is in other places where you see large carnivores butting up against humans, like the Colorado Front Range and things like that, there are huge expanses of national forests or federal lands where the animals can retreat into. But here, the pumas are really stuck in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Highway 101 separates this mountain range from anything else.
Yeah, you're kind of sandwiched between the San Francisco Bay Area and the ocean.
Exactly, and there really isn't anywhere for them to go.
Okay.
So as people continue to develop in this area, they just restrict the space that the pumas can use.
Do you see that any other place around? I mean, the same kind of situation wherein animals become part of the metroplex, whether they want to or not.
Absolutely. Not so much with large carnivores, although there's a similar situation down in LA with the pumas. But across the east, you see coyotes moving in to urban areas. In India, there's places where leopards live amongst people and eat primarily dogs that they find in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I'm wondering if that isn't, like I was saying during the introduction, we've had a prolonged drought here in California, and a lot of the wild critters moved into town. And it seemed like every day there would be a new missing Fluffy sign hung up, or missing, Fido sign. And they must... easy prey, I guess, huh?
it does seem that some individuals in this puma population really learn how to exploit neighborhoods more than other ones.
Oh.
And by that, I mean that they learn that they can hunt in these areas, but they have to really change their behavior when they do it. They're not comfortable around people. So they normally, a puma, when they kill something, they'll still hang around it even if they're not feeding during the daytime. But what we've found is that when pumas come into neighborhoods and they kill something, they go 500 meters away maybe to sleep and then come back only in the depths of night. They're not eating as much. They're really fearful of people. So they can come in and hunt. They do oftentimes take cats that are roaming around, sometimes feral cats, sometimes house cats. They take raccoons and opossums, other human-associated species like that.
I was
too.
thinking that, the critter that had the fight on our roof had to be a raccoon. It sounded like that kind of ferocious. The raccoons are pretty, mean critters when it gets to, they put up a fight.
Sure.
But it had to be a lion because of the leaping.
Right.
I didn't know it wasn't a rhinoceros. I know that.
Well, and we do see pumas taking raccoons regularly. There was a video that came out from someone's front porch a couple years ago in Boulder Creek where a puma had approached her house and grabbed a raccoon from under her porch. So they do learn how to find these prey species that are more associated with residential areas.
And they learn how to hunt in the city, and they also then must learn how to get along in the city too.
Right, so that's part of this adaptability. When they're not around during the daytime, it really works better for them and for us because we don't get scared and they can still utilize the habitat. So I see it as a win-win.
I often walk at night, or early in the morning, I should say, which is probably, their prime hunting time. And I just, after a while I got to feeling something, watching or something. Maybe I'm a little bit suspicious, but I started carrying a 7-iron and just using it to tap on the street, let them know that I have a 7-iron. But, so when you're tracking them and you getting all this information, then you can set up cameras.
We do, and that's the other way that we can monitor this elusive animal is with lots and lots of cameras. We have cameras spread out all over the Santa Cruz Mountains to try to get it. You asked about density. Motion-sensored cameras, right? And then a lot of the work that I've done has involved video. So I find their kill sites and I deploy video cameras. And so I can monitor their behavior a little bit more intimately.
What kind of information can you learn by actually getting video or stills of them? One photograph we were talking about off the mic here. One photograph that you had that was just especially touching was of a mother mountain lion with her 2 cubs at night, and they were sitting on top of a hillside overlooking the lights of Silicon Valley. And I just thought, that is about as cool as you can get. So what can you learn from those kinds of images?
We can learn a lot about their perception of us. A lot of the work that I've done is putting these cameras out at kill sites close to residential areas and far from them and see how much the puma will eat, how afraid it looks, how much it puts its head up, what hours of the day it's willing to be there. And then we've also actually done an experiment where we've played the sounds of humans talking at these kill sites to see what the pumas will do.
Wow.
We actually play political talk radio, so I'm sure you can appreciate that here, just because we thought it'd be fun. Don't worry, they respond equally similar to Republicans
So what
and
did
Democrats.
yeah, there you go. What did they do?
They run away every time. Every
Uh-huh.
time. They just book it out of there, and a number of them actually never came back to the kill site at all.
Wow.
So humans really have taken the place of behavioral top predator in this landscape.
And there you are. Did you know that, ladies and gentlemen, that you are the apex predator of our environment? This is the Food Chain Radio program. Michael Olson with Justine Smith, UCSC. It's like a behavioral psychology of wildlife almost, isn't it?
It is.
You are invited to participate out there. Have you seen a lion in our neighborhood or any neighborhood? 831-479-1080.
Now, I don't mean to be creepy or to bum you out, but sooner or later, all of us will have to face the unpleasant subject of death of a friend, relative, loved one, even self if you become terminally ill. If you find yourself in the position of having to make funeral arrangements, who are you going to call? That's easy, the closest undertaker, right? Well, yeah, but how do you know what makes a good undertaker and what makes a lousy one? What exactly do they do? What are the pitfalls? And what do they charge for their services? As a person fairly advanced in your years, or maybe not, you may have a ton of questions for a nice, friendly, pleasant, good-natured undertaker. We've got a young, charismatic one, Andrew Danielson from Pacific Gardens Chapel, as our guest on the next KSCO special, this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on We Know the Words friendly, good-natured, and charismatic do not necessarily go with the word undertaker, but tune in and decide for yourself. Radio, AM 1080 and FM 104.1 KSCO.
The original Stagnaro family has been in business since 1879. The Stagnaro name stands for quality, quantity, and great service. The family's Gilda's restaurant on the Santa Cruz Municipal Wharf is still the fishing headquarters of the Santa Cruz area. It's where fishermen gather each morning for coffee and breakfast before heading out on the bay. Stop by Gilda's and say hi. Dino looks forward to meeting you at Gilda's on the center of the Santa Cruz Municipal Wharf.
For the last 60 years, Coast Paper and Supply has been serving locals and businesses for all their cleaning and paper supply needs. With an 1,800 square foot showroom and nearly 5,000 products, you'll find everything you're looking for in the way of janitorial supplies, retail and industrial packaging, and disposable food service products for business or home. Not to mention their huge selection of boxes and shipping supplies. Their family-owned and operated business is located at 151 Josephine on River Street in Santa Cruz. Call 831-423-3350 or visit coastpapersupplyinc.com, a proud member of Think Local First.
This is Mrs. Future from the Dr. Future Show. We have had Etheric Networks for 10 years, and it has always been really a stellar service. There's always a real person there if you have any need to call them. They fix things as quickly as possible. Our service has hardly ever been down, and the service is just great. We live kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there are no other mainstream bandwidth providers where we are, and Etheric is a great service. We're really lucky we have it. Thank you, Etheric Networks.
KSCO Residential Special. Residential service up to 10 megabits per second, symmetric. That's up and down for $85 a month and $199 installation. With guaranteed minimum speeds and uptime, unlike our competitors. Etheric Networks. Call 650-399-4200. That's 650-399-4200. Etheric.net. That's ETHERIC.net.
Welcome back out there. We are talking mountain lions in the neighborhood, here, there, and everywhere. And I guess they are pretty much from Alaska to the tip of South America. So these critters get around.
They do.
And they're generalists, as we have learned today from Justine Smith from UCSC, a doctoral student. And she's doing her thesis on how we, that means you and I, have become the apex predators of the environment. And we are the ones that change the behavior of other predators, like mountain lions, like grizzly bears, like wolves. And in doing so, we change pretty much the whole environment around us.
That's right. So one of the things that we've seen here is when pumas live around a lot of people, they kill way more deer per year to compensate for all the behavioral adaptation they have to do.
Ooh, this bears some explanation here.
Right. So what we've seen is that because pumas don't fully consume their kills, they spend less time at their kills near neighborhoods, that they increase their kill rate, or the number of deer they kill per year. And we think that that is a direct consequence of these behavioral adaptations, from giving up food, from having to move more, and other stressors that come along with it.
So that do they ever kill for fun?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. The reason I ask is I read a story earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, about the wolves in Yellowstone raiding a pen of elk being fed in Jackson Hole. And they went through and killed them all. Yahoo! Just kind of having a good time, the boys getting out of hand. And
when animals are in enclosures, it creates sort of a different psychology. It's a land of plenty. So it's not necessarily that the animals are killing for fun, but just evolutionarily, they're driven to take what they can get. And when animals are penned in, they're just all there for the taking. And so
it's like free candy at the candy store.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a free buffet. If you showed up at that, you'd probably eat more than you needed also.
There you go. Wow. Okay. And how do they go about earning their living in the mountains? They're in the city. They eat more deer. Because why?
Well, deer are the only real abundant large prey item in the Santa Cruz Mountains. We have some areas with some invasive wild boar, but usually
they're harder to kill.
Can only kill the juvenile ones because the adults are so hardy. And really, large carnivores evolved to kill large ungulates like elk and deer, sometimes moose. Those are all things that pumas kill in other places like the Rockies, but here we only have the black-tailed deer, and so that's what they focus on.
And in doing so, they kill more. Why do they kill more, though? That's the question. They kill more here than they would out in the countryside, out in nature, but why?
Well, so we've only looked at animals actually in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and we compare the ones that come into places like Felton and Boulder Creek regularly.
Into metropolitan areas, into the communities, right?
Yeah, and we compare those to ones that maybe only live in Wilder Ranch or places that
are more rural.
Where people recreate but don't necessarily live. And we found that particularly for female mountain lions, they're killing about 40% more deer per year if they live
that's
in really,
a lot.
Exactly. Okay. In really residential areas. Because we think that they are just expending a lot more energy and they're not eating as much of each kill.
So they're on the run.
Yeah, they are.
So
We've done some energetic work to show that pumas do expend more energy and move more when they're closer to people.
So that more people around means that there are more disturbances, and whenever there's a disturbance, the mountain lion leaves its prey.
Right.
Does it come back?
Sometimes. I think if it's a pretty benign disturbance, it will come back. But if someone chases it off, maybe it won't. It depends a lot, too, on the personality. These animals do have different temperaments. And there's also pretty big differences between males and females and how old they are. So you never know exactly how an animal's going to respond.
And whether it's fit and healthy or whether it's ill and all of those, just like people, I guess, when it gets right down to it. Wow. And that they kill more, what impact does that have on the surrounding environment then?
Well, that's really the next step that we would love to have the answer to. Unfortunately, we don't know very much about the deer population here. So whether it can absorb that increased kill rate or not is something that we just don't have the answer to at this point.
Would Yellowstone Park provide a good model? I mean, if you were to look at what's happening with the ungulates in Yellowstone Park and the pressure being put on them by the wolf population?
The interesting difference with Yellowstone in here is that wolves are a predator that chases their prey, and pumas are a predator that hide and pounces on their prey.
How do they kill?
They usually go with a large prey like a deer. They'll wrap their jaws around the front of the neck and actually suffocate it. So they don't tear it open to kill it. They suffocate it to kill it usually.
Break their neck sometimes as well.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Wow. Well, I think we're going to go to the lines, and we have, let's see, Aaron, are you there?
Yeah.
Welcome aboard. You're talking with Justine Smith from the University of California on the Food Chain Radio program. Fire away.
Just a quick question. You estimated the population in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I was wondering over here in the Monterey side, the Santa Lucias, Ventana, any idea?
Big Sur. California's magnificent Big Sur.
Sure. I am not aware of population estimates for that area, but since it's so connected through Big Sur and down, it's a huge connected habitat. My guess is that it's probably a really healthy population.
Probably maybe around the same or something in the...
I've heard that it's even higher density, but I can't recall my source, so
yeah, there's an awful lot of deer over here. And another thing I was thinking...
Isn't that a good indicator of how many mountain lions are going to be around?
It should be. It just also depends on if there's good den sites, how rugged the terrain is, and how disturbed it is.
Okay.
Yeah, another quick thought. The Ohlone Indians talked about this, the tame deer over here in the Monterey area, going back, thousands of years, and the tourists see it and are bewildered, like nowhere in the world can you have
deer on Pebble Beach, right? On the Pebble Beach golf course.
Pacific Grove, especially. Yeah, and they have a lot of mountain lions coming into Pacific Grove.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for the call, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Now, we see a lot of that in metropolitan areas around California, around everywhere. Deer are moving into town.
Yeah, there's
Are they running from the mountain lions?
That is one theory. So that's called the human shield effect, which means that prey will come close to people because they feel that humans shield them from predation because predators are afraid of people.
And we no longer eat them.
And, well, not in town. We don't.
Not in town.
Generally, we go out in the forest to hunt them usually. So that's one aspect of it. They could also be attracted to human areas because of gardens and food that they can eat.
Mm-hmm. I know my wife came out one day and said, the neighbors are stealing our roses. And I said, what? And I went out and looked, and it was obvious a deer had eaten all the roses, which meant that there's a mountain lion around, because if the deer are eating our roses, there's got to be a mountain lion someplace. Folks, this is the Food Chain. Michael Olson, your host for this hour with Justine Smith, University of California Doctoral Student. We're talking about lions in the hood, mountain lions, pumas, cougars, call them what you will. They are the apex predator. Oops, they were until we came along.
Hi folks, how many of you out there love to garden? Wouldn't it be nice to grow some of your own food? Or maybe a flower garden would brighten your day. Well, now you can have the pleasures of gardening without all that effort. You don't need a tractor, you don't need a rototiller. All you need is the Knox Garden Box, a heavily constructed, portable, elevated garden on legs that can virtually change the way you've gardened in the past. The Knox Garden Box can be set up anywhere. Yes, you can place it right on concrete. For those with bad backs, you've got critters and gophers, no space or maybe no dirt. With the Knox Garden Box, the therapy of garden is now the prescription for good mental health. The way to find your fabulous Knox Garden Box is by logging on to knoxgardenbox.com. That's KNOX, gardenbox.com. Or by calling 831-461-9430.
If your family car runs out of gas or oil or water, its engine will fail. If your body runs out of essential mineral or vitamin or amino acid nutrients, it will grow weak and you will be left with aches, pains, and diseases. Some say you can get all 90 of the essential nutrients you need from foods you eat. Maybe, but if you eat foods from farmed out soils or foods that have had the life processed out of them, you will deprive your body of some essential nutrients. You can get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs for less than a daily latte with a 90 for Life Healthy Start Pack. It's easy, it's delicious, and they are essential.
Get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs to grow strong and stay healthy with a 90 for Life Healthy Start Pack at nutrientstogo.com. That's nutrientstogo.com. Get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs for less than the cost of a daily latte at nutrientstogo.com. That's nutrientstogo.com. We're on the farm with Joel Salatin.
Would you like to buy homemade soup, backyard chicken, and the neighbor's artisanal lunch meat? The Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund protects your right to acquire the food of your choice from the source of your choice. I'm Joel Salatin from Polyface Farm, and I urge you to defend the right of neighbors to engage in direct food commerce. Join today at farmtoconsumer.org, the food of your choice from the source of your choice. That's farmtoconsumer.org. Farmtoconsumer.org. Thank you.
When you buy local American-grown flowers, flowers will grow and flourish in America. Hello, I'm Deborah Prinzing, author of Slow Flowers for certified American-grown flowers. When you buy local flowers, you're helping our country's family farms reduce the transportation footprint of flowers and enjoy fresher, longer-lasting bouquets. So please, next time you shop for flowers, think local. Think certified American-grown flowers. Visit AmericanGrownFlowers.org to learn more.
Hello out there. This is the Food Chain Radio program, Michael Olson. Today we're talking about lions in the hood, mountain lions, with Justine Smith. And if you think about it, we live in this pretty neat area where all kinds of people gather and live together, and we huddle up and kind of chase all the critters out of town, unless some are smart enough to figure out how to live with us. And one of those that's figuring out how to live with us, of course, is the mountain lion. And here in California, we have a lot of them, but there's a lot of them everywhere throughout wherever there are deer, I guess, there's going to be mountain lions. So if you see a deer wandering through your neighborhood, you're going to know that there's going to be a mountain lion someplace because that's the food. What other competitors, what other predators do the mountain lions have to contend with?
Well, out here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we have bobcats, coyotes, gray fox, a number of smaller predators, but they really don't compete with mountain lions directly, except for when they try to sneak in and get a bite off of a kill that a mountain lion has made.
And that seems to be significant because I bet that happens out in nature as well. I mean, when you make a kill, you got to eat as much as you can because there's going to be other predators trying to get in on the kill, right?
Right. I mean, the mountain lions here are afforded a little more flexibility because they can take anything around in this area.
They're the apex predator of the animal kingdom then.
In other places where there are wolves and bears, oftentimes they'll just have to give up if other carnivores show up and want their kill.
So this is really where you're going to see the change in your environment. If mountain lions are killing more deer because there's more people around and they have to keep on the run kind of, then what kind of impact is that having on the rest of the environment of the animal kingdom?
So some things we're looking at is how maybe having more meat available on the landscape can help these smaller carnivores that do use kills from pumas, because the pumas aren't defending their kill during the daytime as much. They're not around, so maybe other animals can come in and take more of that food away from them. There's also
kind of the socialist approach to okay.
Yeah, that's just spreading out the resources a little bit more. Yeah.
What other kind of critters are there then that feed off of the food left behind by mountain lions?
Vultures and opossums are the main ones, but we also see quite a bit of activity from gray foxes and bobcats and the occasional coyote as well.
Occasional coyote. And one of the images, video images on your website was that of a coyote discovering a kill, uncovering it. And the amazing thing to me was watching the coyote's reaction going, I can steal this, but I better look around to make certain that the mountain lion isn't around. What happens if a mountain lion discovers a coyote or another predator stealing their food?
A mountain lion can easily kill a scavenger that it finds on its carcass. So most scavengers won't show up at the kill until they know the puma has left for good. In the few cases where we see that they weren't paying attention, we often find what we call a double kill, which is not only the kill itself, but also the scavenger left there as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, folks, what do you think out there? Have you ever seen a mountain lion in your neighborhood? I certainly have. Makes a big difference. So how do mountain lions get around in a metropolitan area filled with people?
Well, so the interesting thing about the mountain lions here is that they still, all of their core habitat is still the main area where they hang out. So most of these mountain lions, even though they'll venture into residential areas, they're not living their whole lives around people. They're still spending most of their time in the very important network of open spaces and protected areas we have in the Santa Cruz Mountains. They just venture into neighborhoods to hunt because they've learned about the strategies for doing that.
That's where Fluffy is.
Right.
And Fido, too. So that's where kind of easy pickings is if there aren't any deer around.
Sure, or even for the deer, if they are a little bit less vigilant close to neighborhoods, maybe the deer are easier to catch. These are things that we'd like to investigate a little bit more.
You know, that females are often on the run, as it were, and not able to, relax and eat their kill. Does that have an impact on the gene pool of the mountain lion population?
That's something that we're trying to investigate now. That's clearly the most important implication of this for mountain lions is if they have to expend a lot more energy, they have to kill more, they're eating less. What are the consequences? Can they raise offspring successfully? Can they feed their offspring? Just anecdotally, we had a female with 4 kittens this summer who mostly lives off of things like raccoons, and she abandoned each kitten. She couldn't feed them. And so I don't know. We don't know exactly what the patterns are, but we anticipate that there's probably some consequence to this stress response and them being able to raise kittens. Yeah.
Yeah. So you couldn't really tell. Was she on a collar? You could follow her around then. And if you can't feed them,
right,
you just let them go, I guess.
So what we need to understand is the energetic cost of living around people enough to actually prevent the population from being able to grow in the same way.
What about people's reactions to pumas pisses you off?
Not very much. Actually, around here, people have a very healthy understanding of mountain lions. We've been working here since 2008. We are knocking on doors every day trying to get access to properties because the pumas here are living amongst people. And most people really understand the animals. They have cameras in their own yards. They're educated, and they respect the coexistence. So it's really actually a pleasure to work here with mountain lions.
Okay, folks, when we get back, the big question, which of course is, can people and pumas just get along? In the Rodney King sense, remember? Back there in those riots, Rodney King says, hey, can't we all just get along? Well, can we? We'll find out from Justine Smith when we get back. You stay tuned.
Get this, you can earn a 5, 6, or 7-figure income by farming a small parcel of land in or near the city.
You can be old or young,
rich or poor,
married or single.
You can own land outright,
or lease it year to year.
You can grow small fruits on prairie bench lands,
houseplants in coastal valleys,
flowers on steep wooded hillsides,
vegetables in the city greenbelts,
and ornamentals in neighborhoods of fancy homes.
Get all the help you need to get growing at metrofarm.com.
Get the complete guide to growing high-value specialty crops for the city at metrofarm.com.
Get experts to look at your land and assess which crops to grow at metrofarm.com.
Get advice on how to plan and develop your project at metrofarm.com.
And get news about the business of farming for the city.
Yes, you can earn a 5, 6, or even a 7-figure income by farming high-value specialty crops on a small parcel of land in or near the city.
Grow for the money today at metrofarm.com. That's metrofarm.com.
They say we spend $25 billion a year sweating it out at the gym. Sweat contains some of the essential nutrients your body needs to grow strong and stay healthy. If you sweat these nutrients out and fail to replace them, your body will begin breaking down. Some say you can get all 90 of the essential nutrients from the foods you eat. Maybe, but if you eat foods from farmed-out soils or foods that have had the life processed out of them, you will deprive your body of some essential nutrients. You can get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs for less than a daily latte with a 90 for Life Healthy Start Pack. It's easy, it's delicious, and they are essential.
Get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs to grow strong and stay healthy with a 90 for Life Healthy Start Pack at nutrientstogo.com. That's nutrientstogo.com. Get all 90 of the essential nutrients your body needs for less than the cost of a daily latte at nutrientstogo.com. That's nutrientstogo.com. We all want to change for the better, but few know how. Learn how by attending a free talk titled Meaningful Change for Ourselves and the World by Christian Science lecturer Matt McCurdy's of Massachusetts. Mr. McCurdy's will explain how God's loving power is the greatest agent for change and how that power can be seen and felt here and now. Learn how to change for the better Saturday, 2 p.m. at the Christian Science Church, 3200 Center Street in Soquel. Details at Christ Science Soquel. Healthy food, healthy body. Join KSCO Flavors host Greg and Marlene Birch at the Kickoff Expo for the first annual Santa Cruz Health and Fitness Week, Sunday, noon to 3 p.m. at Kaiser Permanente Arena in downtown Santa Cruz. Meet the Santa Cruz Warriors, talk with area health and fitness experts, win prizes, sample healthy foods, and watch demonstrations. Bring your family and friends to the Kickoff Expo for the first annual Santa Cruz Health and Fitness Week, Sunday, noon to 3 p.m. at Kaiser Permanente Arena in downtown Santa Cruz.
Well, we're down to the question of the day. Can people and pumas just get along? Justine Smith is doing her doctoral thesis on, really, it's not about mountain lions, it's about people. We are the apex predators of the environment, and what impact are we having on other critters like the mountain lion? Because we're really the ones who are the determining factor on just about everything now. Is that not true?
I would say around here that is true.
Well, do you think that we can rein ourselves in to the extent that we can get along with other critters?
That's the big question. The Santa Cruz Mountains are isolated, so there's not a lot of place for these animals to go. We see that
more millionaires are moving up into the mountains every day from Silicon Valley.
More people are developing in the mountains. We see dispersing males ending up in Santa Cruz and Mountain View, trying to figure out where to go and not really having anywhere that they can find a place to live. So it's really up to us to make sure that the environment is connected enough and has enough good habitat for these animals to live. And right now we have a pretty good situation. Santa Cruz County has put in some really important barriers to housing density development.
Do you see this happening around the rest of the country, in the world, or is it just, is this area an exception to the rule?
I think you see it in a different degree because other areas, maybe there's a city and the animals can come into the city, but they can also leave. Mm-hmm. And the tricky thing about the Santa Cruz Mountains is the animals can't ever really leave. And so if we continue to develop in the Santa Cruz Mountains, it's just going to put such a strong constraint on this population.
Well, do you think we can rein ourselves in? I mean, we are the apex predator. We're the ones that are the determining factors of it all, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. One is I think we're doing a really good job of protecting land. We have very active land trusts and open space districts, state and county parks. So that's been hugely important for the mountain lions, and there's a lot of public support for open space, which is great. The other thing is just for us to continue to encourage people to take really good care of their livestock animals and their pets to try to reduce conflict, because obviously coexistence won't work if we see conflict between the predator
but how do you
people.
Protect a nice big fat sheep out in the pasture at night from a hungry lion?
What we've seen is really the only way to be 100% sure that your animal is not going to get eaten at nighttime is to put it in a shed with a door and a roof. Pumas can jump incredibly high, 12 feet over fences. So it's the only really safe way to protect a goat or a sheep is to make sure that it's enclosed at nighttime.
What about us? How can you enclose us? Or are we just going to keep building and building and building until there's nothing left of nature?
Yeah, it comes down to groups like land trusts and buying up all the land they can, and groups like the planning department making sure that we don't close off corridors between those protected areas by building so many homes that the pumas can't move through it anymore.
I guess when we lived in the country, there was room for everything, and so we could be anything. We could be rugged and we could be independent and we could be as macho as we wanted to be, and as us Montana boys like to be. But when we moved into the town, we had to confine ourselves to all kinds of rules and regulations. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. This has been The Food Chain, and I hope you enjoyed the show. You can listen to it again at metrofarm.com. And how do we get in touch with you?
You can check us out at santacruzpumas.org. We also have a Facebook page.
There you go. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember Michael Olson's third law of the food chain: cheap food isn't.
You've been listening to the award-winning Food Chain Show with Michael Olson. If your friends missed the show today, tell them to log on to the radio page at www.metrofarm.com for a listen. Now go out and find some food with a farmer's face on it and live. KSCO, Santa Cruz.
CBS News, I'm Matt Piper. One of two Iraqi men being detained at JFK Airport when trying to enter the U.S. last night has been released. Just happened in the last few minutes. It was apparently with the help of two U.S. Congress members who went to see the man at Terminal 4. There are reports of immigrants being held at other airports around the country trying to come in from mostly Muslim countries. Mani Yagani, an immigration lawyer in Houston, says green card holders and travelers with student and worker visas